everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. So, Novellathon is coming up very soon. Actually, by the time that I post this, it might already be happening now that I'm thinking about it. So, we are here to discuss novellas that I feel are either vastly underrated or they're novellas that I love but just don't talk about enough on my channel. So I do have several videos, by the way, if you are looking for even more novella recommendations from me. One, I would check out my KU romance playlist because a lot of the books featured in those videos are going to be novellas. I also made a top 10 novellas of 2021 video, as well as my top 5 novellas of 2022 with some honorable mentions. So there's plenty of novella recommendations to go around from me specifically. But if you are participating in Novellathon, like I said in my announcement video, which will be linked up in the cards above, definitely check out my amazing co-hosts for even more incredible recommendations. But this is a list of a lot of different kinds of novellas, so let's just go ahead and dive on into it. So one of my favorite novella series of all time is absolutely the Fallen series by Nicola Davidson. I'm holding up book 2, The Devil's Submission, which is my personal favorite. By the way, thank you once again to Annabelle for gifting this to me around my birthday in December. I am definitely going to cherish having this in my collection because I need to reread this whole series soon and I'm gonna fully annotate this copy. But this is a series of 3 novellas that centers around this sex club called Fallen during the Regency era in London. And so each novella is centering around each of the different owners of the club. And so this one in particular is a marriage in trouble between Eliza and then Grayson, who is like the accountant for the club. And then book 1 centers around Sebastian, and the heroine is a widow who goes to Sebastian so that he can ruin her reputation, so that her father doesn't force her to marry someone else. She wants to be independent. She doesn't want to be married to someone again. And then book 3 is a second chance romance between our third hero, who is the main exhibitionist for the club, and his heroine is also an exhibitionist. And yeah, these novellas are so sexy, and all the audiobooks for the series, by the way, are on Hoopla if you have that service, so they should be pretty easily accessible to you. But I'm just obsessed with all 3 of these novellas, cannot recommend them enough. Nicola Davidson is the queen of erotic historical romance for sure. Next, we have the one novella that is not a romance novella, but I really wanted to bring it up because I still feel like this novella is vastly underrated and it's just such an amazing story. So this is The Deep by River Solomon with, oh man, I can't remember the co-authors, but basically this novella is based off of a song that was written by the 3 co-authors. So sorry that I can't remember everybody's names, but I do remember that David Diggs narrates the audiobook for this, and he did an amazing job with that. But this is a novella that centers around this group of mermaids who they are descendants of slaves who were thrown overboard during the journey from Africa to the Americas. So we have Yetu, our main character, who is known as the historian of these mermaids, and so she alone holds all of the traumatic memories of these mermaids and their ancestors, their past. And she's realizing that that is quite the burden to have, because literally everybody else in her community is just happy and kind of having a good time. They don't have the burden that she does. And so she eventually kind of runs away, leaves their community, and she ends up meeting some people on the surface and things going from there. This is just such a beautifully written novella and story, and it just packs quite the punch. There's a lot going on in this story. I will say there was a point where I was very confused as to what exactly was going on. But if you just let yourself be confused for a bit, everything will make sense by the end. And I feel like this is kind of a polarizing book. I think a lot of people really didn't like it because of the writing style. So if you're looking for something kind of different from a novella, especially if you want some variety and you want a non-romance novella, then I would highly, highly recommend this. Like I said, the audiobook is absolutely amazing. So now we're gonna get into some Jessica Cain novellas that I feel are underrated. So this is The Husband Sitter. So this is a very interesting, I guess, kind of poly romance situation. We have our heroine who's been living in this like free love commune with her mother, but her mother realizes that she has this incredible gift. She's like a very strong empath, I think, and I think she can like influence others to feel good because she just has such an amazing energy about her. And so yeah, her mom just kind of like kicks her out and tells her like, you need to share your gift with the world. And so the heroine just like gets on a bus and she sees this like classified ad, and it's very vaguely worded, but when she gets to this mansion, there are these 3 women there who are all married to a different man. And they want our heroine to have sexual relationships with all 3 of these men. Can't remember specifically why, but I think like the 3 women are just very busy in their careers and stuff, and so they want someone that they can get to know and trust to have this kind of relationship with their husbands. And so she does. So there's like a different chapter with each of the 3 husbands, and by the end, like they're this big happy family, and it's like absolutely insane. But it was so much fun at the same time. Like I couldn't help but give this 5 stars. The other Jessica Cain novella that I want to bring up is The Pitcher's Assistant. This is another one that I have brought up quite a few times on my channel, but I still think is very underrated. I really love this one because it's a baseball player romance, which I haven't read too many of those. I definitely need to read more. But yeah, this one was really fun too. We have our heroine Pippa, and she's trying to interview different players on this professional baseball team. And Court, our hero, is quite a bit older than her. Court is just like instantly in love with her. And so he entices her to come to his house by telling her that he will give her an exclusive interview. Like nobody has been able to interview Court for years. He's pretty much a recluse when he's not playing baseball. And so she goes, they fall for each other, sexy times ensue, lots of daddy kink as well. I mean, you can pretty much expect that from pretty much all of Jessica Cain novellas, that there's gonna be some daddy kink involved. Next up, we have Deal with the Demon by Chase Verity. This is another novella that I have brought up quite a few times on my channel, but I just think it's very underrated, and it's just a really wonderful and adorable paranormal romance novella. This is also actually a part of a novella series. I have read book 2. I really enjoyed that one as well, and I've yet to read book 3. But I just love the vibe that's going on in these novellas. So in this one in particular, we have Heidi, who is a single mom. She's raising her 2 kids. I believe they're both teenagers at this point, and she gets this mysterious business card with a QR code, and when she scans the QR code with her phone, Driston, our hero, shows up, who is a demon, and he works for this organization that basically he has like a finite amount of time, I think, to help out whoever scans the QR code and requests his services. And so his job is to do anything that his client wants to help them out. And so he ends up becoming kind of like a stay-at-home dad to help Heidi out, because she's, you know, working full-time and she's trying to raise her kids. And so he kind of helps with like the housework and like that side of raising the kids. And so over the course of the novella, they fall for each other, and this is just so adorable and wholesome. And I just really, really loved the vibe, like I said. So highly recommend this one if you want a sweeter paranormal romance. I have one more Jessica Cain novella. I forgot about this. This is Making Their Vows, which this is another new adult romance that has like a Romeo Juliet, like star-crossed lovers vibe to it. We have North, who is from like the wrong side of the tracks. He's an underground fighter. He's trying to support himself and his younger sister on his own. And then we have Grace, who is from a very, very wealthy family. She goes to an elite private school, and so they meet because like her friends make her go to this underground fight that's happening, and so North is there fighting, and they just like lock eyes and immediately fall for each other. And oh man, I just loved this. There is a sequel novella to this one. I can't remember what the title is, but I think you can only get it if you subscribe to Jessica Cain's newsletter. I really enjoyed that novella as well, but Making Their Vows was absolutely amazing. It's one of my top favorite Jessica Kane novellas, and I do not talk about it as much as I should. So next up, we have Your Dad Will Do by Katie Roberts. So this is literally one of the hottest and like filthiest romances that I have ever read. And that's really saying something, because I have definitely read some crazy erotic romances over the last few years, but this is still a novella that truly sticks out in my mind. And it's kind of crazy that I don't talk about this novella all that much because I really loved it. This also had kind of a bonkers Jessica Kane vibe to it, but I just really love Katie Roberts' books in general, and I think that this like Touch of Taboo series is so well done. And as you can tell from the title, we have Lily, who is dating this dude, but he doesn't treat her all that well. They kind of have a toxic relationship, and I think she ends up dumping him, and she's like, okay, well, now I'm gonna go have sex with your dad. Okay, thanks. And so yeah, he goes to Shane's house and just offers herself up to him, and things get crazy from there. This is basically smut with no plot, and I'm here for it. Next up, we have Maybe Next Time by Christina C. Jones. I think this is only one of 2 books that I read by this author. I definitely need to read more. So if you guys want to give me like your top recommendations by this author, please let me know in the comments below. But this is a marriage in trouble romance where we have Kenza and Denver. And really all I can tell you about the premise is that I think Kenza ends up requesting a divorce from Denver, and he's like, absolutely not. I am not letting this woman go. We need to just talk it out. And so he kidnaps her so that they can talk it out. And I love good kidnapping romance, what can I say? So, you know, this is a little bit bonkers too, but there's also some like incredibly sweet and swoony moments. Next up, we have a historical romance novella. This is The Scandalous Dissolute No Good Mr. Right by Tessa Dare. I think I got that title right, but I probably still got it wrong. I always flub the title anytime I try to say it. But this is a romance between Eliza and Harry. And what's really fun about this one is that it kind of time jumps. Basically, the 2 of them really only interact at various balls and events around London. And so over, I would say like a couple of years or so, they just developed this really fun romance. And this has some of the best banter that I have ever read from Tessa Dare. Like, for the banter alone, I gave this novella 5 stars. It's so well done. I really enjoyed Harry's character because he's kind of a rake, and he kind of reminds me a bit of Colin from A Week to Be Wicked by Tessa Dare as well. I just love when Tessa Dare writes rake heroes. She does a really good job with that kind of hero. Now I'm gonna get into some Cassie Mint novellas that I really loved and gave 5 stars, but I think I've really only talked about these novellas in like one wrap up back in like January of 2022 when I read them. So first up is Snowstorm. This is a snowed in romance, as you can guess, where we have our hero who's a duke named Theo, and then our heroine is Quinn. And so she's with this tour group and she's touring the palace that he lives in, and they end up getting snowed in together. This was just so sweet and fun and sexy. I love a good forced proximity snowed in scenario, and Theo, our duke, was just so sweet and swoony. This was just so well done. And then another novella that I really loved is also part of like this Winter Warmer series. You definitely don't have to read these novellas in order. You can definitely just pick and choose the ones that seem the most interesting to you because they have no connection other than they take place in the winter. But this is Winter Ward, and so this one is about Bellamy and Felix. This is an age gap romance, and so Bellamy comes to stay with Felix over like the Christmas holidays because she is away at school. It seems like they're somewhere in Europe, but she doesn't want to fly all the way back to the States for only a couple weeks only to fly back for school. And so her father's friend, Felix, our hero, offers to let her stay with him. And so he's definitely a grumpy hero, but they have this amazing connection through music. I believe she's a violinist and he might be a pianist if I'm not mistaken, but there is this one scene in particular that alone made me give this 5 stars, where Felix is playing the piano and he challenges Bellamy to distract him to the point where he will stop playing. And that scene is very hot. So this was just another like sweet and sexy romance from Cassie Mint. Her novellas are on the shorter side as well. So again, they're just gonna give you that perfect boost of serotonin. And the last Cassie Mint novella that I want to recommend is Runaway Bride. This is a part of her Bride series, but once again, the only connection that these novellas have is that it has to do with brides of some kind. And so this one is a mafia romance. We have a mafioso named Leo, and Mia is a mafia princess. At the very beginning of the novella, she's been put into this arranged marriage situation with Leo's brother. But Leo is so obsessed with Mia and he wants her for himself so much that he kills his own brother to be with her. And if that's not iconic, I don't know what is, you know? And so Mia's freaked out by Leo, and so what ensues is this cat and mouse game where Leo will literally go to the ends of the earth to have Mia, and it is just so hot, so much fun. Next I have another historical romance novella. This is Tycoon by Joanna Shupe. This is technically a prequel novella in her Knickerbocker Club series. So we have Ted, our hero, who's pretty much a millionaire. He is a tycoon, as the title would suggest. And then we have Clara, our heroine. There's a bit of an age gap between the two of them. I believe he's like in his early 30s, she's in her early 20s. But Ted is about to board a train, and Clara runs up to him and pretends to be his wife because she's running from some really bad guys that are trying to kill her. And so Ted realizes that she's in trouble and quickly agrees to pretend to be her husband. And so they are on this train ride together. And so it's kind of a road trip romance in that way. And this was just like so adorable and so fun. And I loved that Clara was kind of this like quirky and out of the box heroine, and Ted just couldn't help but fall in love with her. It was really well done. I did think that the ending was a little bit rushed, so it wasn't like a perfect 5-star for me, but I really enjoyed it and it definitely had a unique feel to it. Last but certainly not least, we have Always Been You by QB Tyler. So this is definitely on the longer side of novellas. So my personal definition of what a novella is any book under 250 pages, and this one's about like 240-ish pages, so it's definitely, like I said, on the longer side. By the way, an audiobook version of this recently came out in the last couple of months. Nobody writes taboo and forbidden like QB Tyler. She always makes it work somehow, and I'm absolutely obsessed. So this one is a step sibling romance. So we have a stepbrother and a stepsister. There's also a bit of an age gap between the two of them. So we have Gabrielle, who's 18, and James, who's 30. And I totally understand that this story may not work for everyone. I know that not everybody enjoys taboo romances like this, but this really worked for me. And also QB Tyler's romances are incredibly hot and sexy. Oh my God. Like James, the hero in this, he can get it any day of the week. I am obsessed with this man, and I'm finding that I'm quickly becoming obsessed with the current book that I'm reading by her as well. But yeah, so this is taboo in that yes, they're not technically blood related, but they grew up together. Absolutely. I mean, Gabrielle was adopted when she was like 2 years old, and I believe James was probably about like 12 or 13, and then they grew up together, though I think they had been separated for a few years when he went off to college. And so now they're living in New York together. She's going to college, I believe, at Columbia, if I'm not mistaken, and he lives in the city and he's working there. And they've just always been incredibly close to each other, but over the past couple of years, their love has turned into a more romantic love. And so this is all about them falling for each other for real and dealing with the consequences of that. QB Tyler definitely does not shy away from the very real consequences that these couples have to face in her forbidden romances. This was just so amazing. Honestly, this almost made my top 10 contemporary romances of 2022 list. That's how much I loved this. So if you're open to more taboo romances, I can't recommend this one highly enough. So that is going to be it for my list of underrated novellas that I think you definitely need to check out, if not for Novellathon, then just for some point in the future. I would love it if you would leave a comment down below if you want to discuss any of the novellas that I brought up in this video, if you want to give recommendations for myself as well as other people that are watching this video. I would also really appreciate that, and I would love it if you would leave a like and subscribe, and I thank you so much in advance if you do, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!